Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. Drinking a lavender latte again with my Shadow Singer mug from Fable Coffee. I love me my Shadow Singer boy. So today's video is going to be my anticipated releases for April through June. My quarterly anticipated releases, if you will. So let's just get into it. I know immediately I don't have a lot for June, which kind of surprised me, so we'll see if there's some sleepers that come up later. But right now I only have 2 for June. One of the first ones coming out on April 7th is Rites of the Starling by Daphne Perry. This is book 2 in the Shield of Sparrows series. And I remember reading Shield of Sparrows and really enjoying it. It kind of caught me off guard. I thought I might like it, but I remember really enjoying it, but also feeling like it felt a little bit different because it was kind of slower paced, but for some reason it worked for me. It wasn't like a 5-star read, but I remember really liking it. For some reason, I don't have a lot of excitement about the sequel, but I remember kind of where it left off and being intrigued by the world so much that I'm gonna read it, but it kind of snuck up on me, honestly. Like I said, this comes out April 7th, and I'm just gonna kind of read the synopsis. It is the book 2 synopsis, so just, bear with me. I don't think it's gonna be spoilery in the little piece that I'm gonna read, but it is a sequel. A princess journeys across a cursed realm to find the truth about her family, only to discover her quest intertwines with the fate of a lost warrior. Intriguing. The first one's kind of interesting. It's like a forced marriage type of a situation. It's like a political marriage between kingdoms, and she was not supposed to be the one chosen, but the prince chooses her anyway. And so she goes into this other land, and in this kingdom, this land, her kingdom is at war with them, sort of. So she's kind of sent as a spy almost to kind of figure out what's going on and what they can use against them. So all of their land is super secretive. She's not allowed to look at maps. Nobody really has maps. The lore and the creatures and people are secretive. You just don't know anything. All of the knowledge is kind of hidden from people. But the more she learns, the more she realizes maybe she's on the wrong side, and maybe her father and his kingdom are the bad guys, and it's not what she's been told her whole life. So I remember really liking it. The creatures in this world particularly I thought were really cool. So hopefully the second book is also very good and not just second book syndrome. I hope it ramps some stuff up and we get more of the world, but specifically the creatures, but hopefully she gets to see more because it was so secluded and hidden and mysterious before. So hopefully now that there's things more out in the open, we'll get to see a lot more. The next one, also coming out April 7th, is The Book Witch by Meg Schaefer. This feels more like a little bit of a cozy fantasy, maybe not quite, but on that range. For this one, it says, she can hop into any novel, she just can't stay there. Come along with the Book Witch in this magical and inspiring love letter to reading. We love that. It kind of reminds me of the Astral Library. I really like that. This is also the author of The Wishing Game, and that was one I had wanted to read a long time ago, but never did. Rainey March is a proud third-generation book witch, sworn to defend works of fiction from all foes, real and imaginary. With her magical umbrella and feline familiar, she jumps into and out of novels to fix malicious alterations and rogue heroes. Book witches live by a strict real people belong in the real world, fictional characters belong in works of fiction. Do not eat, drink, or sleep inside a fictional world, lest you become part of the story. Falling in love with a fictional character? Don't even think about it. Which is why Rainey has been forbidden from seeing the Duke of Chicago, the dashing British detective who stars in her favorite mystery series. If she's ever caught up with him again, she'll be expelled from her book coven and forced to give up the magical gifts that are as much a part of her as her own name. But when her beloved grandfather disappears and a priceless book is stolen, there's only one person she trusts to help her solve the case, the Duke. Their quest takes them through the worlds of Alice in Wonderland, The Great Gatsby, and other classics that will reveal hidden enemies and long-buried family secrets. I love that. Again, it reminds me of the Astral Library with this book-hopping adventure. And I'm kind of in that also right now. I think I'm just kind of in that zone because Throne of Nightmares by Karen Maniscalco, I'm currently reading that, and that's a similar vein too. The books aren't what we know. They're books that are made up in this world, in that world. But it's also kind of a similar vibe, and I love that trope apparently, so I'm excited to read this. And then, coming out April 14th is The Thorn Queen by Sasha Payton Smith. I can't wait! This is book 2 in the Rose Bargain series. I've raved about the Rose Bargain so many times on this channel, I feel like I don't even have to talk about it anymore. But this is the sequel, and I am so excited. I loved the first one, 5-star read, one of my favorite reads of last year. Didn't think I was going to love it as much as I did, but oh my gosh, it's so good. So this is book 2. Obviously, I can't really talk about this a lot, but I'm going to see... Yeah, I can't say that. I'll say like some buzzwords, right? So Bridgerton, the Selection, and the Cruel Prince collide in this Victorian-inspired romantasy. That'll give you something, you know? Forbidden romance, deceptive bargains, and lethal court intrigue intertwine in this mesmerizing fae romantasy sequel that will captivate fans of Once Upon a Broken Heart and Belladonna. Again, I've talked about the Rose Bargains so many times, but essentially it's like The Selection, sort of. It's like debuting, like Bridgerton. It's like debuting in society, but when you debut, you can make it, the queen of the realm is fae, and you can make a deal with her, and you can trade, like, your teeth for perfect skin. Like, it's just crazy bargains, and a lot of them are usually more than you actually thought you were going to give up. Like, even if it was just your fingernails, you realize how vital that is later or something. I loved that, and the idea was that instead of it being a bunch of suitors, it was just the Fae Prince that was up for grabs for marriage, and all of the girls that compete, whoever does not win his hand, none of the rest of them can ever marry ever again. So, it was a crazy story, and I loved it so much. I've talked about it so much on this channel. Cannot wait for this book to come out. I'm literally, like, immediately April 14th, Thorn Queen. Like, I just can't. I'm so excited. And it always reminds me that I have The Witch Haven and The Witch Hunt by this author, and I need to read those because if they're anything like this, so good. And then April 21st, Thistle March by Maria Corrigan comes out. This one, I remember when I first heard of it, it sounded really interesting and kind of fun. The cover is also just gorgeous. It says the fairies are moving in. Fairies disappeared over 100 years ago, as suddenly as slipping through a doorway. It was only the very foolish or the very determined who held out hope for their return. Welcome to Thistle March, a ramshackle estate where an impoverished orphan and a beguiling fairy collide in an enchanting novel of love, revenge, and ruin. That sounds so cool! In the wake of World War I, the world is a decidedly unmagical place for Mouse Dune. Once she dreamed of becoming a fairy anthropologist, but with one telegram her world shattered. At the Battle of the Somme, her cousin's body disappeared into the mud, and her brother was left with debilitating shell shock. It was time, she knew, to put aside childish dreams. When Mouse receives news that her uncle has left her the fairy-blessed Thistlemarch Hall, a dilapidated manor in the English countryside, she must leave her brother's side and return to her childhood home to claim her birthright. But there is a catch in her uncle's will. If Mouse does not rehabilitate the crumbling house in 1 month's time, she will forfeit her inheritance and any hope of caring for her brother. It quickly becomes clear it's impossible to repair the manor in the allotted time, until a mysterious fairy appears with a proposition. He offers to restore Thistlemarch for a price. Mouse knows better than to trust a fairy, especially one so insufferably handsome and arrogant, but she is out of options. There are dark and magical forces at work in the house, and Mouse must confront the ghosts of her past and the secrets of her heart, or lose Thistlemarch and herself in the process. Like, I'm intrigued. I want to know. But also, why is her name Mouse? I really hate her name. I'm sure I will get used to it, but that's a rough one. And then the last one for April, it comes out April 28th, is Bloodbound by Ellis Hunter. You duel or you die. Looks interesting. It looks like there's like a chimera and a dragon on the cover. It says it's a debut high-stakes fantasy romance trilogy set against a once-in-a-generation duel to the death between rival witches and dragon riders as they battle to control the source of all magic in their kingdoms. Perfect for fans of Fourth Wing, Throne of Glass, and Quicksilver. You duel or you die. Astrid has always known she is destined to die. She is the last Nocturne witch and heir to the kingdom of Arturia. Cursed by a centuries-old covenant to duel the heir of the kingdom of Atara for the source of all magic, the heart. And now Astrid's time is up. She's heading into the enemy territory to face Prince Zorion? The most powerful dragon rider in eons. With only her family, her potions, and her wits to aid her, she is going to die, and any chance her kingdom has of curing the blight that's ravaging the lands and killing her people will die with her. Meanwhile, deep in Dragon Country, Skylar and her traveling troupe arrive at Vadra's capital, ready to profit off the legions of spectators swarming to the city ahead of the duel. She despises the royals and all they stand for, especially as the king's guard murdered her mother. But when her best friend disappears, suspected to have been taken inscription, her search takes her closer to the royals than she ever could have imagined. As the duel looms over the kingdom, Skylar and Astrid's fate intertwine. They must battle a growing rebellion, their inner demons, and ultimately those they love most, to determine if together they will save or doom their world. Interesting. I like that the world has so much magic and dragons and stuff. That's really cool. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I won't read it immediately. We'll see. And then we get to May. And the first one in May that comes out May 5th is Roles and Rivalry by Christy Boyce. This is book 3 in the gaming and romance series. This is like the D&D YA contemporary romance, and they are so cute and fun. I've loved them, and I can't wait for this one. It looks like it's like marching band and D&D. So cute. Roll the dice, strike up the band, and get ready for a swoon-worthy summer. A charming gaming romance that blends the magic of D&D with the camaraderie of band camp. Hazel's senior year at band camp is set to be epic, until Max, her childhood crush turned drum-playing troublemaker, waltzes back into town. Their sections have always been rivals, but a shared love for Dungeons & Dragons pulls them together, sparking a romance Hazel never saw coming. Just when things feel perfect, rumors of, did Max ask her out because of a bet? Start circling. With band drama mounting and her first D&D game spiraling, Hazel must prove their love and her leadership are the real deal. A swoony, nerdy romance full of rivalry, redemption, and roll-the-dice chemistry from best-selling author of Dating and Dragons. I can't wait. It literally I don't even care what it's about. Because it's in this series, I will read it, because I've loved them so far. And then, I've been waiting for this book for so long that I've kind of, like, pushed it out of my mind, because it kept getting pushed back, and I just thought, like, I can't think about it too much, because I want it so badly, and it's finally happening. It's coming out May 12th. I mean, unless something horrible goes wrong, but I feel like they would have said something by now that it's not coming out. May 12th. All Hail Chaos by Sarah Reese Brennan is coming out. Oh! Long Live Evil is right here, and I loved that book so much, and this is book 2 in the Time of Iron series. I am so excited. I'm sure you've heard me talk about this book, but Long Live the Villain, or Long Live Evil, was this really fun, like, portal fantasy. So the main character is terminally ill, she's dying, and a mysterious character comes to her and tells her that she has the chance to live if she goes into her favorite fantasy book of all time and find this magical flower. And if she does that in the allotted time she's given, she will come back into the real world and survive. And the catch is that when you get put into the story, you get put into the character that they feel is most like you. And she gets put into this character called the Beauty Dressed in Blood that's a villainess and is destined to die. Like, she knows the character dies. So she's trying to use all of her knowledge of the world in the book to keep this from happening. And to keep other things from happening as well. So it gets into really interesting situations of, like, knowing the world and knowing the magic and seeing and playing into this character, but also trying to kind of make sure you don't die, but seeing how that kind of has a butterfly effect. And, oh, I loved it. It was so good. And this is book 2, finally! All Hail Chaos. Let me even see, I think... Yeah, Long Live Evil came out in 2024, so I've been waiting for this for a hot second. Not as long as other books, but still. I thought it would be faster, you know? Woo! I'm so excited. I can't even tell you about this one, because it would be a huge spoiler. But if you haven't read that book, I would strongly suggest giving it a chance, because it was so good. And then on May 19th, we have Startup Hell by Caitlin Rozakis. Caitlin Rozakis is one of those authors. I started reading her books because of Dreadful. I think that was her debut novel. And I loved it. It was so much fun. And then I read her book after that, the Grimoire Grammar Parent-Teacher Association Society or something like that. It was a long title. Also loved that one, even though they're very different books. And so this one is Startup Hell, and it looks so funny. I really enjoy this author's writing. She's really hilarious, but she can also talk about, like, deeper, more emotional things and just make you fall in love with characters and worlds, and I just love it. So this is a hilarious contemporary fantasy about a junior sales witch stuck in corporate hell, who has to evade devilish pacts and her and her world-saving, demon-slaying mom to save a surprisingly hot demon and work out how to hit her quarterly target. Morgan Blackwater's mother is a kick-A, world-saving, demon-slaying Shadow Council wizard. As for Morgan, Morgan's a junior salesperson at a tech startup that can't even decide what its product is. But the magic, dyslexia, and the disinclination to kick A, Morgan is doing her best, carving out a niche for herself in the mundane world. Leaving work late one night, she discovers her boss dead from the effort of summoning a demon to trade his soul in order to make his quarterly target. Oh my gosh! The disturbingly attractive demon, Luceroth, Luke for short, is trapped here until he finds someone to sell their soul. While trying to sneak Luke out of the building, Morgan runs into her infamous mother. Apparently someone has been summoning demons, and she's here to get to the bottom of it. Trying to protect Luke from her mother, Morgan gets stuck in the infernal plane and discovers hell really is a corporate nightmare. She only gets back home with a promise to deliver a human soul of her own. While her coworkers are really annoying, she's not willing to sacrifice their souls. The company's tech bro CEO, though, is another story. With Caitlin Rozakis' signature wit, Startup Hell is a contemporary fantasy that exposes the demonic nature of the corporate world. I think I'm gonna love this, because I hate the corporate world. I think it's gonna be really funny. I'm excited. Oh my gosh, and then A Tapestry of Fate by Amina Al-Sarafi is coming out on May 12th. I am freaking out. I read The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi. I don't even remember if I read it when it came out, but it came out in 2023, and I've been waiting ever since. It was a 5-star read. I loved it. It was so great, and I'm so mad that I waited this long, but it's okay. She writes good things. So, A Tapestry of Fate is coming. I can't wait. I'm going to read it also immediately. This one seems a lot more seafaring, even though the first one was seafaring. Essentially, you're following a middle-aged pirate who, in The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi, she comes out of retirement for like one more job because it's an insane amount of money and will basically set her for life, and she's just trying to take care of her daughter. And she is such a great character. She's middle-aged, so she's just like, I've had enough of all of this. All of you stupid people and men and just things. It's just so funny. And she like cusses and just has like no care in the world about what people think about her. And she's also just like an amazing like warrior pirate queen. It's just so great. I loved it so much. I know a lot of people didn't, which is fine, but I do. And it says for this one, she sets sail into the second adventure of pirate Amina Al-Sarafi as her quest to track down magical artifacts brings her to an island lair of a sorceress whose woven enchantments are impossible to flee. I feel like that's all I can say since it is a sequel, but I loved it. It was so good. I loved the pirate fantasy and just the characters really made it. My goodness, I can't wait. It's so fun. I love the adventurous nature of this series, at least thus far. And then, okay, so I just learned about this book by Matt Haig. Matt Haig is writing a sequel in the Midnight World. It's literally called The Midnight World Book 2, and it's The Midnight Train. If you remember, in 2020, he wrote the book, The Midnight Library. And I really loved that book. I thought it was so good. It talks about suicide. It talks about really heavy topics in such an interesting way. And I loved the way the book was done. It was just so cool, and how you could try out different lives in the library and how she learns a lot of things about herself and eventually decides life is worth living. And it was such a cool book. And this is another one in that series. I have to read it. It comes out May 26th. I literally had no idea this was happening. And it says, when your life flashes before your eyes, where do you stop? No one can change the past, but the midnight train can take you there. The chance to relive the moments that meant most, to see what kind of person you really were. For Wilbur, his best days were with Maggie, the love of his life, on his honeymoon in Venice, before he gave it all away. He wishes he could go back and live differently, but to do so risks everything. A magical time-traveling love story from the world of the Midnight Library. I must read it! Tell me what you think of this if you have read the Midnight Library. And then we get to June. And the first one I'm looking forward to in June is actually really exciting. It comes out June 2nd, and it's Shadow Reaper by Lynette Noni. If you've heard me talk about her before, or if you haven't, she wrote the Prison Healer series, that trilogy, and I really loved that trilogy. The first two came out in 2021, the last one came out in 2022, and I haven't read her Madoran Chronicles, But I really loved the Prison Healer series and was very excited that she's coming out with another book called The Shadow Reaper. I'm just excited because of this author, and I've wanted to continue more of her works. It says, full of relentless twist, enemies to lovers romance, found family, and high-stakes action, Shadow Reaper is the start of a breathtaking new duology. So it's a duology, that's nice. And then, as far as the synopsis, it says, never bargain with a Reaper. The city of Arabelle is in peril, plagued by a deadly black mist that kills all it touches, and Reapers who roam the streets, stealing magic from innocent children in their thirst for power. 17-year-old Viridia Solis has trained for years to hunt these Reapers, but their ranks keep growing. Led by the man who murdered her parents, the Reaper priest. When the priest's most loyal follower, Reeve Ashton, is captured, he offers Viri a chance to avenge her parents for a price. She knows better than to bargain with a Reaper, let alone this Reaper, but his offer is too good to resist. Soon she's breaking him out of prison, colluding with his crew of magical thieves, and following him deep into the Black Mist Forest in search of an ancient legend. Also, they can stop the Reaper's priest plot to doom the city. Viri is staking her life on Reeve's plan. How can she trust a silver-tongued criminal to keep his word? And how can she trust her own heart when a buried secret could shatter everything? That sounds interesting, and I'm intrigued by it, but honestly, I don't know if it would matter what it said. Because it's Lynette Noni, I want to try it, especially because it's her new one. I'm very excited. I just scrolled down a second ago, and it looks like somebody read it a month ago, and they said 4.5 stars. And it says, Lynette Noni never misses, ever. I'm excited. Have you guys read the Prison Healer series? Oh, please talk to me about it if you have. I remember loving it. And it was like a fairy loot series, and it was so fun. And like I said, I only have 2 books for June, so the last book that I have thus far for my anticipated releases comes out June 30th, and it's The Winged Game by Sophie Kim. Sophie Kim is the same author as the God and the Gumiho series and the Talon series, but this popped up probably because I've been reading the God and the Gumiho, but I'm curious about it. It sounds really interesting. I believe it's like Griffin Riders or something. Let me see. Fantasy meets sports romance in the sizzling slow burn novel, in which the disgraced star of a brutal magic sport must team up with the rival who destroyed her career. Carriot Witchet, the violent rugby-esque game played atop winged beasts, was once Tysa Cho's whole life. And she was once the United Kingdom's most promising player until her nemesis, rival player Keon Locke, destroyed her career in a single moment. Expelled from the sport in disgrace, Tysa has spent the last 2 years dreaming of nothing but revenge and relishing watching Keon's team plummet to the bottom of the league. When Tysa is offered the chance to redeem herself and her career, she can't refuse, even if the author is coming from the very man who ruined everything in the first place. It's close to a dream come true, except the pesky clause in her contract that demands she and Keon enter a fake relationship in order to garner some much-needed positive PR for the team. This could not be a worse match. Tysa and Keon only have 2 things in common: their love of the game and their undying hatred for each other. Yet, as a mysterious illness befalls the winged creatures of the entire league, putting both the beasts' lives and the very sport itself at stake, the athletes find themselves partnering up in other ways, determined to crack the case of the eerie sickness. As their investigation takes them on a whirlwind adventure, Keon and Tysa are prepared for anything that is, but they're fake for the camera's relationship to maybe, just maybe, become something real after all. That sounds kind of unique, like a fantasy sports romance. I'm intrigued. I think that's going to be interesting, so one to watch, you know? Well, those are my anticipated releases thus far for the second quarter of the year. I would love to know any anticipated releases that you're looking forward to, especially if they weren't on my list. But as for now, that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.